80-20-365, a time management system to help you achieve your goals and dreams in 2021 and beyond. We all have the same amount of time. Our results depend where we invest it. Welcome to Living Your Life Well Planned, the 80-20-365 success system with its inventor, Adam Vincent Gilmer. I'm Gene Belaitis, your host, and welcome to episode 43, where today we're going to be talking about the science behind the bank system. Sure hope you've listened to the previous two podcasts. We've been inundated with some incredibly great information that's going to help your sales go up and up and up by as much as 300%. Our guest once again on this episode is Sherry Tree. She's the founder and chairman of Codebreakers Technology and the inventor of the bank system. And you know what? People around the world are using the bank system. And what I loved in our last episode, it was just such a great aha moment for so many people. You know, if your first experience in network marketing wasn't all that great, guess what? It wasn't your fault. It was the system's fault. And the one thing that Sherry was talking about in the last episode about sales, because we're all in sales, regardless of what we do, is it an art or a science? And man, she just blew me away when she said, it is an art, but only if you know the science. So we'll be getting into that. As always, we always encourage you to go to Adam's website. You may be on it right now, 80-20-365.com, and order your daily planner. You're going to use it every single day. And what I love about the daily planner, and I do this every night, I score my day. So, there's no excuse. If I haven't done what I planned on doing and I didn't, I have to give myself a lower score, and I hate losing. So it keeps me on track. It's like a GPS. All right, everybody. Well, listen, welcome back, Sherry. Loved the 4 secrets in the last episode. You know what? I just think it probably made, like, literally thousands and thousands of people happy around the world, knowing now that it wasn't their fault. They just didn't have the system in place. I've seen airline pilots join network marketing companies. And, you got to be pretty smart to fly an airplane. And I've seen these pilots fail miserably because you know what? They thought they knew what they were doing. They thought they had a system, but they didn't have a system. You can fly an airplane, but that doesn't mean you can be successful in sales. So let's talk about the science behind bank. Now, I'm a science guy. I like facts. I like figures. I like things that work. So take it away, Sherry. Give us the science. Make us money. Make us money.
Let's do it. Let's take it to the bank.
All right. Yeah.
I want to start off with a quote from Albert Einstein where he says, "Any fool can complicate things, but it takes a genius to simplify it." And I'm gonna take you here because I'm about to introduce you to the science. And why science is so powerful is because it's not something that works some of the time. It's something that works every single time. And that's really the game changer. And this is why I love the bank system. When you heard when you hear Gene introducing the concept that this could increase your sales up to 300%. For me, my first year using it, I had a 7x increase, 700%. Within 3 years, I was 1,400% up. It was the first year I broke over $1 million a year. Matter of fact, if you're watching the video feed of this, I'm going to hold up the ring my company gave me when I became $1 million earner, and not $1 million lifetime earner like some companies celebrate, $1 million a year in income in commissions. And I'm really proud of that because I was the first one in the company that I ended up moving to, first one to actually achieve that rank and to earn that ring. And so I'm going to peel back the layers of the science. And first I'll say that it's not rocket science. So if any of you are feeling like not good enough, not smart enough, you didn't go to Harvard, you didn't go to Stanford, you didn't go to, well, guess what? Me neither. It's not rocket science, but it is personality science. And the irony is that I got invited because of this to teach at Harvard and to teach at Stanford. Can you believe that? I remember when Harvard invited me to come and speak, and I said, "You do realize that I did not go to Harvard." Like, I didn't even apply to Harvard. Why bother? I'm like your average person. And they said, "Well, because you have done something unique that no one in the history of the world has ever done before with personality science." And I said, "Well, what?" And they basically said, "You reverse engineered it like it was mind blowing to them. And they had me come to Harvard and teach as a guest lecturer at a master's level class, an MBA class on business innovation and entrepreneurship. And here was Sherry Tree in the bank system at Harvard. Okay. So this was like mind blowing, and they called me genius, and they called my system genius. So the cool thing is when you apply the principles of bank and you understand the science behind bank, and then you apply them every single day in your daily regimen in 80-20-365, this is definitely one of those higher activities, the 20% activities that's going to give you massive payoffs, okay? Way beyond 3% if done right, 300%. Okay, so the type of science that I'm going to introduce you to is not rocket science, like I said, it's personality science. The fact that people are different. Now, here's what I want you to know. I did not invent this concept. This theory actually dates back thousands of years to Hippocrates, known as the father of medicine. And 2,500 years ago, what he basically figured out was that he could take the entire world population, divide them into 4 different groups. And each group was so different one from another, he could treat them with medicine differently, just based on this concept. And he called it the theory of the 4 temperaments. And this is actually, fun fact, this is where the origin of colors was associated to personality science, because he would diagnose it where, for example, the color red was based on the quality of your blood. The color of green was based on your phlegm, you know, if you were sick. The color yellow was based on your urine. I know this is kind of a deep dive and kind of a little bit of a crazy thing. And the color black, or what's now blue, was the color of your bile. Now that might sound sick, but that was the origin of colors. For those of you that have studied color programs, hey, is this person a blue, a red, a yellow, a green? You know, some of them use other colors too. That was the origin. So he called that.
That's great.
Isn't that fun?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great little gem.
Yeah, he was a doctor, right? And so this was the concept of the 4 temperaments. Now, when you fast forward to today's modern day world, there's been a lot of different applications of this personality science that have generated personality assessments. And some of the more popular ones out there, and millions and millions and millions of people have taken personality assessments. Some of the popular ones are going to be like DISC, or MBTI, which stands for the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. There's the color code, there's True Colors, there's the Berkman method. And network marketing, there's what animal are you, or what astrology sign are you? Like there's all these different versions, right? And Adam and Jean, I'm sure you've taken these personality typing assessments before. I know I did in my corporate job back when I had it, and I certainly have in network marketing. So here I was taking these personality typing assessments. And in the beginning, like I said, I was fascinated with what I learned about myself. It's cool, right? You get a 40-page report about how awesome you are. Cool.
Yeah.
But my fascination turned into frustration when I realized not one single one of these assessments ever made me more money. Not one of them ever helped me recruit more people. Not one of them ever helped me get a yes instead of a no. And this is where I decided, I kind of put my hands up in the air, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the definition of insanity. Why are we taking these things if it doesn't impact the bottom line? It's not putting money in the bank. And this is when I decided, I connected the dots. What I feel like a lot of times people don't do anymore is they don't think. They don't think. And I want you to think for a moment, because in that moment, I decided to think and actually use my brain to create thought. And the thought was, wait, if it's been proven for thousands of years that there's 4 different types of people, I wonder if they make buying decisions differently. And I wonder if what makes one person say yes makes another person say no. And that was the thought process that led me down the rabbit hole to the creation of Bank. And what I ultimately did, because I looked in the market, trust me, 20 years ago, as I was having these thoughts, I looked in the market for the off-the-shelf program called Bank, something like this, that could tell me what makes a person say yes or no. And it didn't exist. So I decided I'm going to build an experiment. And I'm going to reverse engineer personality science. Instead of building an assessment about who I am, because quite frankly, Jean, not one person I'd ever spent time with building my network marketing business ever stopped me and said, Sherry, wait, before you go any further, I just want to know your personality type. Like no one ever asked.
No.
Right? Like no one asks. But I remember thinking, but wait a minute, should I be wondering what their personality type is? And I wonder if I can crack the code and figure out what their personality type is, if I can predict what makes that person say yes versus no. And there was the moment of genius. So the genesis of the concept of bank, like you asked me in the first episode I was on, what caused me to create that? Well, it was piecing together this thought that if 2,500 years ago, we figured out that there's 4 different types of people, then my assumption was that they make buying decisions for totally different reasons. And let's just test it, Gene, with some common sense, right? Have you ever heard of people in network marketing and sales in general that said, you know what? I went and I delivered my presentation. I offered the same product. I delivered the same presentation at the same price point. And one customer said yes, and another customer said no. Have you ever heard of that happening before?
All the time?
All the time. Gene, what is the only thing that changed?
The person, the person.
The person in front of them. The person in front of them. And so we are hardwired to go out and deliver. And this is where, again, we're programmed to fail from the system, because the system taught me to go out and deliver the presentation over and over and over and over. Next, 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 next. Just get it in front of as many people as possible. Spray the bullets. Throw the spaghetti noodles against the wall, because they're basically teaching me how to play the numbers game, which is why so many lose. And when I woke up from that ether and I took the goggles off and I said, wait a minute, what if I don't have to play the numbers game? What if I could actually play the people game? And what if I could actually figure out what their personality type was and what makes that person say yes? Why did that person say no? And what could I do differently to make that person say yes instead? And how can I do it with zero forms of manipulation? Zero. How could I do it in full authenticity, full transparency, and full respect at the highest level of human-to-human communication? And so this is where the science comes in of personality science, okay? So the idea, and people ask me all the time, Sherry, what is the difference between bank and DISC, or bank and MBTI, or bank and the color code? And it's very simple. If you're looking at your screen, or if you're listening to the podcast, just imagine I'm holding up my 4 fingers. And those 4 fingers represents the 4 personality types, let's say, of DISC, D-I-S-C. And you hold up my other 4 fingers and it represents the 4 personality types of bank, B-A-N-K. And when people say, what's the difference? I do a quick little analogy and I put my 4 fingers together with each other and I tell them they are the exact same thing, only completely different. And I spread my fingers apart to show the difference. You see, what makes it exactly the same is they're all based in personality science, the fact that people are different. But what made our system, bank, completely different from everything else on the market, every other assessment was based in psychology, and bank was the world's first personality assessment based in biology, spelled B-U-Y-ology.
Oh, I love it. Biology.
Boom.
Boom is right.
Biology.
I love that.
Behavior. What
That's
biology revealed was exactly what makes someone say yes, what triggers the yes, and what tripwires the no. Okay. And that was the concept behind it. And this was a game changer. Like, holy cow, once I cracked this code, then the rest was history. And speaking of cracking the code, this is the science that bank uses. We're going to teach you how to crack the personality code of your prospect and take it to the bank. Okay. So I want you to imagine, when I talk about cracking the code, I want you to imagine a device called a cryptex. Now, cryptex was made famous in the movie The Da Vinci Code. And cryptex is a combination of 2 words, cryptology, which is the science of locking up secret information, and codex, which is the secret script or scroll that's locked inside the device. And I'm holding up right here, for those of you that are watching the video, I'm holding right here in front of me a cryptex, okay? Now this cryptex, and you'll be fascinated to know, Gene and Adam, this cryptex was made by the guy in the Da Vinci Code movie who built the cryptex for the movie itself.
Wow.
This is called the Da Vinci line, and it's a limited edition series just for bank, okay, for my company. With my name and Esther's name on here, dedicated as a visionary award for Codebreaker Technologies. Now here's the concept, and this is the rabbit hole I want to take you down in science. This will blow your mind, okay? I want you to imagine, think in terms of cryptex, cryptology, the science of locking up secret information, and codex, which is the written script or scroll that's locked inside this device. Now, in the movie, The Da Vinci Code, what was locked inside this device, written on a piece of paper, was the secret to the Holy Grail. The whole plot of the movie is what is the secret to the Holy Grail? And there's only one way to find out. You had to crack the code. The challenge is this device was booby-trapped. Think of it like a ticking time bomb, because if you failed to crack the code correctly, what you'd crack instead is a tiny little vial of vinegar. The scroll was wrapped around the vial of vinegar. The vinegar would shatter open, dissolve the writing on the scroll, leaving you with what, Gene?
Zip, nada, nothing.
Exactly. Nothing. So if you remember Tom Hanks in the movie, or if you read the book, the whole plot of the movie was to figure out what is that magic code word that if I could simply figure it out, turn the dials, you can see here the alphabet on my cryptex, turning the dials to spell out the magic word and then getting it to open up. And what you'd find on the inside when you open it up is you would access the Holy Grail. And in this case, I have a lot of money inside this thing. Now, what is the analogy and how do we apply this to modern day business? I want you to imagine from this point forward that every single one of your customers, every single one of your prospects, every single one of your clients, every single person you attempt to introduce your network marketing business to has an invisible cryptex. And I want you to imagine if what was locked inside this device was exactly what to say to them to get a yes instead of a no. Gene, how badly would you want to crack the code of this device?
I think I want to jump through the computer and grab it right now.
Right? Because all of your hopes and all of your dreams and all of the life and the legacy that you want to build and leave is trapped inside this device right here. And all you have to do to access it is simply crack the code. And yet, how many of you podcast listeners out there have attempted to crack the code with your customers, clients, and prospects, and all you cracked was the vial of vinegar? And all it did was dissolve the possibility of you ever closing the sale or recruiting them to your team. And I want to ask you a question that's critically important right now. How often has that happened to you? And what is it costing you? Because by you playing the numbers game, that is you playing a version of Russian roulette where you literally spin the dial, attempt to crack the code. And the problem is it's booby trapped. You only get one shot. You don't get to try and turn it and turn it and turn it and turn it and try again. You get one shot, just like your customers give you. You have one shot to crack the code. So as I was piecing these stories together, literally watching the Da Vinci Code movie, and it's as if, Hippocrates was in my mind talking to me about personality science. You can imagine these ideas that were churning in my brain as a young network marketer, waking up to this reality of like, oh my gosh, what if the secret is personality science? And what if I could simply crack their code and have the Holy Grail? The Holy Grail is exactly what to say to get a yes. That is what I would pray for at night. Dear God, please let me say the right things to this person so that they want to buy, so that they want to join. So as I take you deeper down the rabbit hole of science, I want to give you a clue. And the clue comes from Tony Robbins. And he says, let your prospect determine your presentation. And I said, well, wait a minute. If there's 4 different types of people, shouldn't I have 4 different approaches? But how many do most people have, Gene?
One.
And they're told to deliver that same approach, that same presentation over and over and over again, playing the numbers game.
And they call that duplication,
but it really isn't duplication. And what
it's
you're
not
duplicating is failure into your organization where only the strong survive.
Yep.
That's why they call it the 80-20 rule or the 80-15-5. Okay. That's why there's only 1% that's wealthy, because everyone else fails. And this is when I said, enough is enough, time to do something about this. And so when Tony Robbins says, let your prospect determine your presentation, I realize that the most common mistake that people are making is based in personality science. No matter how enthusiastic you are about your products and services, your company's opportunity, whichever one is your dominant personality type, when you go talk to your matching dominant personality type, you're probably going to get a what, Gene?
A no.
No, you're going to get a yes, right? That's okay.
Yes. Yeah, of course, you're going to get a yes.
Personality type, you're going to get a
Yes,
yes.
absolutely.
But that's when it occurred to me, and this is where I'm leading you, right? When I talk to the other three personality types, from my point of view, not theirs, that's where I'm going to get a what?
No.
A no.
No, and a no.
So what that meant mathematically, and podcasters, for those of you that are listening to me, listen very carefully. The most common mistake that you're making, it's not your fault, you don't know what you don't know, but now you know, is that based in personality science, when you talk to your matching personality type, which represents one of the four, 25%, does that sound kind of close to your close rate? 25%? And then I realized that every time I talked to the other three personality types that were not like me, I was leaving 75% of the business on the table. Mm-hmm. Now, Gene, get this, check this out. Okay, this is mind-blowing stuff right now. If you want to know what is the impact of this, because for every time I was getting a yes, I was getting a no at a rate of 3-to-1. That meant I was spoon feeding my competition at a rate of 3-to-1. Every time they said no to me, they were saying yes to someone else's opportunity. They were joining someone else's company. And that was like heart shattering for me. And then I also did the math. And if you're listening here and you're wondering, what is this costing you? Okay. I want you to take your last year's income, whatever it is. If you earned 10,000, it was 10,000. If you earned 50,000, 100,000, $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is, I want you to take that number and triple it. Take that number and triple it. Okay. Whatever your triple number is. So if you earned 50,000 last year, your triple number is 150. If you earned 100,000, your triple number is 300,000. If you earned $1 million, your triple number is 3 million. Whatever that triple number is, Gene, that is the amount of money the listener lost last year not knowing this science.
Whoa, is that ever a dramatic example?
Boom goes the dynamite.
Again, no kidding. Wow.
Right? Because you don't realize when you're playing the numbers game, all of those no's represent the hundreds of thousands or future millions of dollars that you're leaving on the table. And by the way, that's just 1 year of income. Imagine if you compounded that for the next 10, 15, 20 years of your business investment with your network marketing company. You're talking about leaving on the table the exact amount of money that you need to become the 1% wealthy. Boom, right?
Ooh, yet another aha moment.
Right. So check this out. I'm still in the science. I want to share with you some of the science behind the science. There was a research company called the Challey Group 25 years ago, before I even thought of the concept of bank. They had a question, and they said, I wonder if personality types impact the sales process. I wonder if personality types impact the sales process. And they came back and published these results. And here's what it said. They said only 18% of buyers, so 2 out of 10, will buy from a salesperson who doesn't match the buyer's personality type. So only 2 out of 10 people are going to buy from you or join you if they don't match your personality type, versus 82% success rate. Or in other words, 8 out of 10 people will buy from you or join you if you simply match your personality types. Like, what? Is it seriously that easy? That's why I say it's not rocket science. It's personality science. And Gene, the way that traditional sales trainers explain it, right, Adam, is that they say, hey, listen, people will buy from you when they know you, like you, and what?
Trust you.
Trust you. How many times have you heard that in your career? Have you ever stopped to consider what creates the know, like, and trust factor? It's the match of the personality type. It's the match of the personality type. You see, when sales trainers tell you, you need to mirror and match, when your customer goes, you should go, that is a reactive approach of an attempt to match their personality type. But what if, using bank, I could scientifically teach you how to match 100% of the time? Now, bank isn't designed to help you close 100% of your sales, but it is designed to help you match 100% of the time. And when you do that, the results are explosive. And I'm going to give another example before we wrap this episode. When we give you the bold, audacious claim that bank can increase your sales up to 300%, I'm going to scientifically reveal how this works. Okay. I want you to imagine the 4 personality types. And I want you to imagine that each personality type is so different one from another. It's like they speak a foreign language. Now, Adam, I know you can relate to this because you have business all over the world. How frustrating is it when you are trying to communicate to someone and they do not speak your language? Is that frustrating?
That's why I hire translators, but absolutely frustrating.
Yeah, you have to hire a translator because otherwise nobody understands your communication. So watch how this works in personality science. There's 4 different types of people. Let's say that the first type of person speaks English, like I'm speaking right now. If I speak to a client in English and they speak English, bada bing, bada boom, they understand me, they're likely to say yes, that's my current close rate. I'm not here to change your current close rate. That's already what you got on the board. But what about when you meet the second personality type? Let's say that they don't speak English. Let's say they speak French. Well, if you jam your presentation and your opportunity down their throat in English and they don't speak English and you don't have a translator, are they likely going to buy from you if they don't understand a word you said?
Never.
Never, right? But what if, and this is why bank is like the Rosetta Stone, what if you've determined they don't speak English, they speak French, and what if you could simply push a button and speak French? And you say, bonjour, je m'appelle Chérie, j'ai habité en France pour 3 ans quand j'étais petite, enchanté. Now, if you speak French, you know exactly what I said, and boom, we have a match. If you don't speak French, you might be saying, wow, that sounds really cool. I'm craving a croissant right now, oui, oui. But you actually didn't understand a word I said. So your customer cannot buy from you if you're not speaking to them in code. Whereas if you speak their code, I've increased my influence by 100%. Because instead of speaking just one language, English, I can now speak another language called French. And now I've got 2 out of the 4. What about when you meet the third personality type? Let's say they don't speak English, they don't speak French. How about this third person speaks Romanian? And you're like, Romanian? What? Yeah. And what if recruiting that person could be a game changer to your business and all you have to do is speak Romanian? Bank is going to allow you to speak to that person in the way that they are designed to receive information. I call it a code. In this case, I'm using an example of language. Speak Romanian might sound like this. Bună ziua, mă numesc Sherry, am fost misionară pentru biserica mea. Am locuit acolo pentru 1 an jumate, îmi pare bine. Now, if you speak Romanian, you know exactly what I said, and you're like, what? And if you don't, it sounded like, well, maybe Greek. So in this case, I've now increased my influence by 200% because I now speak 3 languages instead of just 1. What about when you meet that fourth personality type? Let's say this person is so opposite from you, maybe like the person you married. Okay, that's an inside joke. Okay, let's say that the K personality type speaks Korean. And you might say Korean, like I've never even been to Asia and I don't like spicy food. But what if recruiting that person is the likes of recruiting an Adam Vincent Gilmer, your next diamond as an example, or whatever? All you have to do is simply speak in their code. It might sound like this. 안녕하세요. 나는 한국 말 조금 바꿔못해요. And again, if you speak Korean, you know exactly what I said. And if you don't, you don't. So in this case, what I just demonstrated, Gene, using personality science and math, I simply increased my influence by 300%. Instead of just speaking one language, I can now speak all 4, the language of the entire human race. See, God is so amazing. Whatever the God is that you believe in, he built the entire human race in simply 4 languages, 4 operating codes. What I call blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge. And in the upcoming episode, I'm going to reveal the system of exactly how to speak to someone in code in a way that unlocks the cryptex and gives you the yes every single time. And the only way that that happens is because you're using science, personality science, and specifically the only one in the world based in biology, the science of buying behavior.
You know, Sherry, I'm going to get Adam to react to this episode here in a second, but, you know, I just want to tell you one thing. I've been broadcasting for my entire career, so I talk for a living. It's how I've made my money. Thank you for explaining this in common sense language that we can all completely understand. I mean, you just made that incredibly easy. I've been involved in this industry. I'm having aha moments, and I even know the system. And, you know, now that I'm just hearing you talk about it again, it's easy. It's easy. I love how you make this so easy. Adam, your reaction to this episode? It's just been phenomenal.
When we do our 3-day workshops, we do a 1-day, 3-day, a 5-day, and a 7-day around the world, right? To get people's minds like all focused and say, listen, here's what you need to be doing and what have you. And several of the, especially in the 3, 5, and 7-day, we actually do a breakdown on the personalities. And we break them down to different colors, very similar to what Sherry's doing. And that's why when Sherry asked them over to the house, we've been down to the country clubs, we hung out, we're like done different events together. And I'm like, man, I cannot wait to take the system of bank. And, I have it in the planner as, personality A, B, C, and D. All right. And I changed it in the planner so that I can incorporate the bank system into everybody's daily mode of operation inside the plan. And here's why. We want you to be effective. And as you can hear from the science, it was so great getting I'm going to say a refresher on it, Sherry, and just actually hear how much things have changed over the years, not changed, grown over the years from when I first had the CDs and we were talking about this, that, and the other, and what's actually how much clearer it's become. And I'm blown away because here's what I can already see when people take action with Bank and 80/20 being together in one place when they're planning, great things take place. Like one of the things that we talk about is, how many, reds, greens, yellows, or blues do you talk to in a day? Okay. And if you know what the codes are to, what the personality and the nurtures and the makeup is, your presentation automatically changes. And and it's not hard to learn. What's hard to, when you first hear it, it's like, oh, well, how do I make it work? But once you start practicing, and I think once Sherry gets into maybe decoding with the cards and maybe the upcoming episodes, it's so simple and easy. In fact, Sherry was over here at my house a couple months ago with Esther and Kai, the baby, and we're sitting, we're talking this and the other, and they had a child's version of it that my son AJ got his hands on. Okay, and she of course intentionally planted that seed. But here's the beautiful thing. I mean, if my 9-year-old starts to get this stuff, okay, I mean, come on, people listening in on the podcast or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, you're going to get it. What you got to do is take action, go get the information, and start the practice. And the practice is what's going to lead you to the action steps, actually inculcating this into your life, and massive changes, growth, not just change, growth takes place because you start attracting, you start becoming, you start emulating and acting as if, and great things start to take place.
Well,
Amazing.
what's that
Good
old
job.
expression? Say your prayers, but get your feet moving at the same time, right?
Awesome stuff.
This has been absolutely awesome, and it's getting better and better and better. So we've learned the 4 secrets in episode 42. In our previous, or I should say in this current episode, we talked about the science. Of course, if you have a secret and you have the science, you need the system. So coming up on episode 44, our next episode, Sherry's going to take us through the system. And you know what? I just have this sense going on in my mind right now that people are just binge listening to these episodes. The information has just been so incredible. So as we wrap up, once again, my usual reminder, make sure you have your daily planner so you can follow along and really take advantage of these free podcasts. And of course, we'll get into how you can get your bank system as well. And so much more is coming up. So just keep binge listening and binge listening. So on behalf of Sherry Tree from Bank, and I think now we know why her company is called Codebreakers Technologies. And on behalf of Adam Vincent Gilmer, I'm Gene Velitis, and this is Living Your Life Well Planned, the 80/20 365 system. See ya on our next episode, coming right up. 80/20 365, a time management system to help you achieve your goals and dreams in 2021 and beyond. We all have the same amount of time. Our results depend where we invest it. 80/20 365, living your life well planned.